I'm in Denver for concerts. Let's do a Denver bookstore crawl.
We started off the crawl with a bookstore called Little Blue Pigeon. It's a very quaint, smaller bookstore, kind of in this really cute area where there's tons of businesses and restaurants. It was very curated though, which is what I look for whenever I visit out of town smaller bookstores. I was tempted by a few books in here, but overall I just realized there wasn't anything I could not get elsewhere, maybe at my local bookstore, but it was really cute. Then we went to probably my favorite bookstore this entire crawl, the Spicy Librarian. This is a romance only bookstore and it was incredible in here. It was so big. They had so much fun stuff, like different types of sections. They had dark romance, contemporary. They even had a beautiful book section, which y'all know I collect beautiful books, and it was just so much fun. And in their dark section, the darker, more smutty romance, they had such fun stuff, like these really interesting bookmarks, and this sign that was like good girls read dirty books, and they had this whole section of sex toys and stuff behind a wall. It was just really cute and funky, and I had a great time while we were visiting here. They also have a whole upstairs, and they had these TBR cards, but they were just a little bit too expensive for my taste. But I did leave with one book, and that was Blood and Steel, because I unhauled this earlier this year and I regret it ever since. We then went to Capitol Hill Books, and this is a used bookstore. It is pretty big, I will say, though. We just didn't find anything that we really wanted. They had a lot of mass market paperbacks, just a lot of kind of older stuff, but it was still cool to see. We then went to the book rack, and this is very similar. It was a used bookstore, and they were unfortunately closing, so their selection was not that good. It also kind of smelled in there, I'm not gonna lie. But again, it was still good to visit and look around, but there was just nothing that caught my eye. But we ended this crawl on a great note. We went to the Bookies bookstore. It was so cute in here. This is a mostly new bookstore, and then a little bit of a used bookstore in the back, and their curation was super cool. I saw some really great books. Burn Down Master's House, if you haven't read it, it's spectacular. This caught my eye from the author of I Who Have Never Known Men, which I haven't even read that book yet, and yet I feel like I'm gonna like it enough to get her other book. But yeah, they even had a whole banned book sections, and the vibe in here was just spectacular. Again, there was a few books that caught my eye, but I just wasn't ready to commit to almost anything. The 5th season I've heard great things about, but I read a few pages and I was just too intimidated to pick it up. However, their used book section, I found Land that was a little bit scuffed up. I didn't grab it, but they actually had some really great selections for the used book sections. But in the end, the only book I ended up grabbing was We Were Forbidden, and that was the end of my Denver book crawl.